dance for joy or lust or anger, and every time you...
Welcome to Sensible Secondhand Classics, the show where we attempt to change gear and fail, but we're supposed to be driving sort of practical and sensible cars that are over 15 years old, but you can buy for a budget of between £1,000 and £5,000. This is a 1970 Morris Minor 1000 Traveller, and I expect for many of you this will be an extremely nostalgic video. But is it any good? Should you care? Let's find out, shall we? So the Morris Minor Traveller is just one of those cars that seems to be part of kind of the British sort of postcard scenery. It was introduced in either 1952 or 1953. I had conflicting information about that, but it was introduced at about the same time as the Series 2 Morris Minor came out with the 803cc engine, so there weren't any Series MM Morris Minor Travellers. This one is 1970, so it's right at the end of production. This time they're making Adderley Park. It's got a 1098cc engine generating 48 horsepower. Now that doesn't sound like very much, but you've got to remember that when the My Traveller came out, it was an 803cc engine with 30 horsepower. In 1956, the car was changed to have a 948cc engine, which was a bit better than the Austin 35, and that had about 37 horsepower. 0 to 60 in this car is, well, quite a long time. Those of you familiar with Morris Minors will appreciate just the noise they make, the sort of exhaust sound and all that kind of stuff. It really is, this really is quite something. I always have to keep remembering in this car that it's got no synchromesh on first gear, and so, you know, if I if I want to stop, not only are the brakes unassisted drums, but also you can't just put it into first, otherwise you will crash the gearbox, as I've already done today already. Okay viewers, so we're stopped, so I can't crash the gearbox again if it's actually stationary, which is good. So yes, it's a very unusual type of Traveller this, with the sort of canvas roof. The reason we actually opened this today is because the headroom is really bad without it, and the seat's been moved all the way back, and I'm still far too close to the steering wheel, but that's Morris Minors for you. The woodwork on this car is actually structural, so if it's in poor condition, then it actually needs replacing. This one looks sort of okay. Up here there's a sort of join between the unitary construction of the front of the car, and then this is sort of like the vans were, kind of added to the back of the car. I've actually seen one of these taken sort of apart and the back taken off, which is interesting. This one is on sort of standard wheels and standard tyres. Now you can fit, if you want to, and it's not a bad idea, servo assisted disc brakes at the front from a Morris Marina, but you do need to change the wheels if you want to do that. So we'll, hopefully this is open. No, we'll have to come back to that later. No reversing lights, no fog lights, nothing like that. Oh, I just didn't pull it hard enough, that's what happened. Imagine under there is a sort of spare wheel if you want, sort of under the bottom compartment like on the saloons. But the advantage of one of these, thank you Steve, is the load space. It's much better than the saloon. And you can actually fold the rear seats. It's really funny, the things that actually hold the rear seat up are just two bolts like you find on a bathroom door. It's all very sort of primitive. Just, you know, woodies like this were quite common in the early 50s. Even companies like Allard used to make them. So, you know, this is not an unusual thing. So while Steve sorts this out for me, I'm going to open this door. It's funny, it's exactly the same colour and interior colour as the last one I tested in September 2022. It's even got the same kind of dash with the latest steering wheel that came in October 64. Glove boxes in here. Sometimes people fit radios in here, but the radio's actually in this car been put further down because there's this big shelf at the bottom which you can put things in as well. One thing to bear in mind as well is that this seat is not fixed in any way at all. There's no way of fixing that in, so it's the weight of whoever's there and the seatbelt that protects you from sort of, you know, flying forward if you get involved in an accident, which is probably not the best thing you want to be doing in a Morris Minor. Mr. Manning from Matty's Cars dictates that I get in the back. Actually, that's quite good. There's just room here for my knees. The headroom's really good. I mean, it's a little bit tricky to get in and out with these seat belts. Fortunately, these aren't fixed seat belts, because fixed seat belts are the bane of my existence. So yes, it's nice and comfortable. You can imagine these being very popular family cars back in the day, although for some reason BMC and at this point British Leyland, they didn't think to build a four-door minor traveller. It's probably due to the construction and things like that, but you couldn't just add some doors in here. So we will get out. Hopefully that'll stay there. Yeah, well, there we go. That wasn't too bad. There's no kind of pain or noises like Roger Moore's stunt double in A View to a Kill or anything like that. I mean, that's okay, isn't it? So go round to the front. Door pull is this. That's the interior door handle. Windy windows, of course. And the very upright seating position, which is actually not that bad. It's okay. The seats in Morris Minors are more comfortable than they look. Ignition in the centre. For the very final year of Traveller production, they moved the ignition switch to the steering column here, which is, I suppose, rationalisation with other models that they had in the range. This is actually an electric screen wash here, which is superb. We do like that. Now, Alicus Agonis was someone who was very fond of smoking in cars, and you'll actually see in here, the electric screen wash pump. That's actually an optional extra. The old type sort of little pump thing is what we had on the last car. There is only one speed for the wipers. That's all you get. It's just this switch here. Choke is there. Didn't actually need any of that today, and you just get a central speedo with a fuel gauge, and I think you get engine temperature light, and that's it, nothing else. This is the direction of the air is down there. The actual thing for turning it on is actually there, and that is the other heater control just there. It's very, very haphazard. It's obviously a car where things have just been sort of added as it's gone on. We might have to close this roof in a second because it's just started to rain, which is annoying. So yeah, ashtray there, ashtray on this side. Alicus Agonis loved to smoke. This is one of his earlier sort of designs. His very, very long career. Indicator stalk on the right that sort of lights up. It actually makes a beeping noise in this car as well. Right, I think I'm going to get out. I'm going to see if we can close this roof because I don't really want to get wet on the way back. So for a lot of its life, this car was owned by the same family. It's a bit like my mother's old Minor, which was in her family from 58 to 83, and that car's actually still around. A friend of my father's had it from 83 to 2006, and another friend of my parents owned it for a bit, and then he sold it, so it's still around, although the plate's been taken off it for some reason. So a legendary A-series engine in 1098cc capacity, generating 48 horsepower. Very similar engine to the one in the ADO 16, 1100, 1300. And then we've got the carb on top of there, just a single carb. As you can see, everything's really, really accessible in here. We've still got the holes in the floor for the original flat 4 engine that was going to be used when the Minor was designed in the 1940s. They actually then put a side valve engine in it, but for some reason that stayed, which is odd, but there we go. It's one of these cars that you kind of see all over the shows and things like that, and this is probably the most common type you're going to see, the 1100cc Traveller. And Trafalgar Blue it's a nice colour. It's just there are quite a few this colour. By 1970 you could also get some really kind of outrageous colours on the Travellers for some reason, like lime flower or purple and things like that, but this is a sort of more standard looking one. And I'm just reminded how skinny these tyres are. One thing you can do, you can upgrade the engine to 1275cc. That's quite easy if you can find one. You can also put an all-synchro gearbox in it. The ones they used to use were things like the Ford Type 9 gearboxes, but those are quite rare now. So they're looking at other alternatives. I think they're looking at like the Mazda RX-8 gearbox, which means you get 6 speeds, which could be terrifying in a minor. Because yes, unassisted all-round drum brakes, 8 inches on the front, 7 inches on the back, which is why people, will put disc brake conversions on these with servo assistance, but you do need to change the wheels because disc brakes don't fit under these standard wheels. Right, I think that's probably enough for now. Let's go back and see if I can change gear properly. So we're just waiting for some other things to go past. One thing you're very aware of in this is because you don't have the acceleration or the brakes or the sort of modern gearbox like most cars. So you have to drive this car very deliberately, not rush the gear changes. You have to be careful that you don't get into a situation where you're going to need to do like an emergency stop or something like that. Whoop. There we go. Don't rush the gear changes. So people generally do kind of wait for you and things like that. I've seen that a few times today. People have just sort of been patient and just waited because we're in a very old car. They know that actually it's a bit of a drive in there. So I get over the speed hump, and the ride is actually quite soft, but the track is really, really narrow. So you just got to be aware that actually these speed bumps, you just sort of come over in a normal car because we're so narrow. We don't just sort of glide over them. But yes, it's quite enjoyable. I mean, I don't think I'm going to be buying one of these myself, particularly after last time. But I'm very glad to have experience of driving one of these. I mean, I think someone's been asking me to have a go in one of these for quite some time. And so when Steve, who owns this, and the abandoned plough that you'll see on the channel at some point, said that I could have a go, I was intrigued. But yes, the best thing for me is to drive it very slowly, plenty of warning and everything, and just not rush the experience, because you can't. You want a minor that you can rush. I mean, you can fit a more powerful engine, you can fit an all-synchro gearbox with 5 or 6 speed if you want, and you can fit some better brakes, and all those things are quite common. A lot of people put alloy wheels to their minors, but it depends if you want this experience. I'm realising now that this speedo is right down here. It's not that you can go pretty fast anyway. I think top speed's about 78 miles an hour, but you've got to just be aware of so many more things than you would in a modern car, and you either like that experience or you don't. So viewers, with my head cramped in because of this unusual design of sunroof, should you consider a Morris Minor Traveller for your hard-earned budget of up to £5,000 for a sensible second-hand classic? Well, unbelievably, you think that these cars would be, given their sort of popularity on the classic scene, far in excess of that kind of money, but they're actually not. I've seen cars kind of like this for around the sort of £5,000 to £6,000 mark. Obviously, it depends how far you want to go. There are some really early ones of these that are worth a lot more than that, and this one is in sort of kind of like good condition. Obviously there are some things to do. You got to watch rust on these things. Definitely watch for rust. Oil leaks are quite common, and you know, just generally sort of neglect. They're very, very simple cars. Like if you wanted to learn how to be a mechanic, particularly for the classic car scene, this would be quite a good place to start, although you'd also have to be quite good with woodwork on one of these Travellers. Anyway, thank you ever so much indeed once again for watching. Please don't forget to subscribe to the channel, like this video and leave a comment below, and we shall see you again soon for some more reasonably priced nostalgic motoring.